Hello all, welcome again to the Recipe Project. Real baking, real results. Where I take recipes from my collection that I've collected for several years and I'm actually going through them one by one, baking them or making them exactly as written. Today I am going to go for a recipe for peanut butter lasagna. Now this comes from spendwithpennies.com. I printed this recipe a long time ago and I've been meaning to make it, and now is the time. So what I'm going to do is, instead of using my oven today, I'm going to use the freezer, and I call this a freezer bake. So you use the freezer to set up the individual layers of lasagna. So come with me and let's get started. Okay, first thing with a recipe is before you make it, always read the recipe. Make sure you have everything set out and ready to go and that you understand what the recipe is asking. So I have my mise en place right here, or mise en place, all ready to go, and I have the equipment I'll be using. I'll be getting out my stand mixer for round 2. First we are going to make our Oreo cookie crust. Now, what can be better than Oreos? Not really much. So this recipe calls for an the whole entire thing of Oreos. Already starting out really good. Okay, let me put them in here. Yum yum. Into my food processor. I love these things, but they're just not really fun to clean. And I'm going to get this crushed up a little bit here. I'm going to pulse it up, get it all crumbly, and then I'm going to start drizzling in my butter that I have melted on the stove. Start drizzling in my butter as I'm pulsing. Hopefully I don't spill it. Put a little bit in. Okay. Ooh, looks delicious. Alright, so now what I need to do is move this into my glass, it says 13 by 9 pan. Okay, so let's dump this in here. Get it all out. Okay, and I watch a lot of baking shows, so America's Test Kitchen, they always use the bottom of a measuring cup to press it down in. So it will climb up the sides and get a good even bottom. So I'm trying to get it nice and pressed in here, and I'll show you in a minute what it looks like. Okay, so that's nice and pressed in the bottom. Make it look really pretty. So nice and pressed in. So what this says is that I am supposed to put it in the freezer and let it set while I am preparing the first layer of filling. So let's get that in the freezer. Okay, so this is the first layer, which is going to be the peanut butter layer. So with the mixer on medium. So we're gonna cream the cream cheese. Softened cream cheese. So I got this out this morning. Nice and soft here. Go in there, buddy. Okay. Okay, cream cheese. Okay, and 1 cup of smooth, creamy peanut butter. And the 1/4 cup of milk. 1/4 cup of milk. So, and beat that on medium until it's fluffy. It's on low. I'm going to start out on low, and then I'm going to go to medium. I didn't want it to splash all over me because I'm really good at that. Ooh, it's already looking delicious. Okay, slowly add in my powdered sugar. It calls for 1 cup of powdered sugar. Whoop. Made a little mess there. Whoop. Every time I work with flour or powdered sugar, there's a little bit of an explosion. Woo-hoo-hoo. Never said I wasn't messy. Okay, and now I am supposed to fold in 1½ cups of whipped topping. So whipped topping such as Cool Whip. So take it out of here. And I have my 1½ cups of my whipped topping, and I'm going to fold this in because you're going to want this to stay light and airy. So you're going to try to fold it in and not knock all that air out. So try to fold it in so it's rolling it around. To get it nice and incorporated. It's going to be a nice light and fluffy layer to go on that lasagna. This is your peanut butter layer. It's already looking delicious. It smells great. Make sure to get all the goodness off the sides. Okay, that looks pretty nice and light and fluffy, and I got it off the bottom there where it likes to stick in these mixing bowls. Okay, so I need to spread that on the Oreo crust layer. Okay, here is my Oreo crust. Now I'm going to spread the peanut butter layer on top of that. I'm going to dollop it around because it's easier to spread that way than if you just do it in the center. Want to try to keep those Oreo cookies there on the bottom intact. I don't want them spreading around. try to start from the center and work my way out. Get it as even as possible. Don't have to be perfect. Just try not to lift that Oreo layer there. Got a little bit of crust there. Uh-oh. Bound to happen, I guess. Okay. That will go back into the freezer while we prepare our next layer. Okay, welcome back. As you can see, I've done a little cleanup since the powdered sugar incident, which made it look like it had snowed inside instead of outside like it's doing here right now. This next layer is going to be the pudding layer. So it's a chocolate pudding layer. And it says from the recipe, now I'd like to use my stand mixer, but it tells me to mix it in a bowl and then spread it on. So here we go. So I need 2 packets of pudding. So these are the 4 serving size packets, the small boxes of chocolate pudding. So here's 1. And 2. Now, it is calling for us to use 2 3/4 cup of milk. So that's a little bit less than you would get if you were to make your pudding from the box directions. So they want this to be a little bit of a thicker layer. So here we go. We're gonna mix in our milk and gonna whisk it up, do it the old-fashioned way since it doesn't say anything about a stand mixer, but I'm using my stand mixer bowl because I like how deep it is and I'll make less of a mess. So we're gonna whip this up until it gets thick. It should be a lot thicker than your normal pudding recipes that you make. Sure to get it from the bottom. Ooh, it's already starting to get thick. So we're gonna want this nice and thick so it holds up on top of that peanut butter layer that we've already done. So we have an Oreo layer, peanut butter layer, and now we're gonna do our chocolate pudding layer. Stir, 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 use those muscles. It's already getting nice and thick, look at that. That's what we want. Looking really good. Nice thick layer. Want it good and thick so it'll set up really nice. Okay, I think that is super thick. Let me get out my other 2 layers and we'll put this on. Okay, it's a beaut. So here is my Oreo and my peanut butter layer. Now I'm going to dump on my pudding layer. try to spread this on without interrupting my peanut butter layer here. Get it all the way into the corners as best as you can. Get in there. Get in there. It's filling up this pan nicely. Alright, so there is the pudding layer. Okay, so we have the pudding layer on, and next will be the whipped topping. So I need to sit this in the refrigerator for another 5 minutes, and then we are going to put on our toppings to make it even more delicious than it already is. Okay, 5 minutes have elapsed, and now we get to top this wonderful dessert. So it calls for the remainder of the Cool Whip. So as you remember earlier, we used Cool Whip, and we are going to use the other amount less the 1.5 cups that we used earlier. So I'm just going to take this out, and I'm going to try to dollop it around so we can cover it as good as we can. It's going to be a nice thin layer. Which will help with that creaminess of the peanut butter and the pudding layer. It's a nice thin layer on top of here. Okay, so now it calls for us to use chopped mini pieces. Now in the ingredients list in the beginning, I did not say that they need to be chopped, so I quickly did a rough chop on them. They're not pretty, but it doesn't really matter because it's going to taste great. So this is the entire bag of the mini Reese's Unwrapped. So sprinkle that on top. It says use Reese's peanut butter chips. Now it does not say how many to use in this. I even looked in the comment section and see if anybody had it, but she said use as much as you want. Now I usually don't like when recipes do that, because especially if you're doing anything that's baking, you need exact measurements and sometimes they forget. But with this, which is good, you can make up your own happiness. So just sprinkle on enough until you feel really happy. So here's my happy. Happiness loading, happiness loading, 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 loading. Okay, I think that's my happiness. So that's about half a bag of these. And your happiness may be the whole bag or a lot less than I used. So also optional, as if it really is, to put on some chocolate sauce. I don't really think it's an option. I think it's a must. So it doesn't say how much of this either. So I'm just going to dribble on as much as I would like. I'm gonna make it kind of a cool designer try. Anyway, I'm gonna do it at a diagonal. Doot, 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 doot. And then go this way. Just because I can. You don't really get to do this a lot in baking where you get to do what you want. So, all right, here's my finished result. Looking delicious. So now we need to set it in the refrigerator for at least 3 hours to completely set up. And then we will try it. We need it to harden so when we go in for the layers, it won't completely fall apart like when you make lasagna. Okay, we'll be back shortly. Hello, welcome back. It has been 3 very, very, very long hours. And this is the deliciousness that I'm about ready to eat and see if it worked. So the layers in here, you can kind of see them. Mine aren't as clean as they probably should be, but I still think it's going to be delicious. And it is very heavy and weighs a ton. So let's see what we got here. Whoops. Okay. Ready to dig in. This first piece is probably going to be the hardest, of course, to get out. Oop. Slide up there. Let's see here. Get my plate a little closer. So if I drop it, it won't go far. Okay. Ooh, a little really messy here. Oh wow. Okay, so like I said, my layers aren't as clean as they probably should be, but you can still see the layer of the Oreo, the peanut butter, and the chocolate, and the Cool Whip. Now for the taste. Get a little bite of that crust. Mmm. This is really, really, really good. Wow. It is a chocolate peanut butter explosion in your mouth, but in a good way. It's very subtle with all the fluff, and it's not overpowering and heavy. It's a very light taste. Very delicious. I would definitely make this again. And I'm probably going to call some people and have them come over and share it with me. Wow. And it says it sets in your refrigerator for 2 to 3 days. Woo, that is delicious. So, thank you for joining me. And I hope to see you next time when we do our next bake. This was a freezer bake, but next time I'll be popping something nice and savory in the oven. And I hope to see you then.